Hello, I'm Gabe, and I'm at Convergence. For those of you who don't know, Convergence is a large fan-run convention in Minneapolis, Minnesota, for fans and creators of all kinds of speculative art, and to come together and celebrate fandom, hence the name Convergence. Anyway. Sarah and I have been attending Convergence for the better part of a decade in various capacities, but this is the first time I've brought a video camera with the idea of making a Convergence vlog. I really have no idea what I'm going to put in the vlog, so what happens after this, who knows? If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. If there's something that you'd like to see, let me know, and we'll see if I can film it. I don't know if I'm going to be filming at Convergence or just talking about Convergence. Filming at Convergence can be perhaps a little dicey. Their website doesn't really list bloggers at all. And there's stuff about press passes. I don't have a press pass, but I spent most of yesterday editing videos. I did get to some panels, though, so I figured I'd tell you about the panels that I went to. And to remind me, here's the grid. The grid is wonderful. Actually, there's two venues, I think. They're at another hotel, and of course the problem with that is that no one wants to go to another hotel. So I didn't make it to the panel on photography at Convergence specifically. They might have told me whether I can film. So then I went to a panel on breaking into YouTube. It was a really informative panel and very vindicating for me because there are a lot of things that I've kind of suspected about YouTube, and to have people up on stage who have far more subscribers and views than me say basically all of the things that I kind of suspected about YouTube, but didn't really have any proof of. I couldn't really, like, go to people and say confidently, this is the way things are on YouTube, and this is why you should be watching my videos or supporting me if you are my friend. The main thing I learned is that apparently video thumbnails are just a thing you can do, custom ones, and I could not. I've not been able to find that in the menus anywhere. So that's why all of my videos just have thumbnails of random gameplay or random me in the middle of the video. YouTube gave me 3 choices and I picked the best one. Apparently also there's a way you can date your videos so that they go up at a particular time. Haven't found that either, but it's apparently in there somewhere, because at least they were up on stage talking like it was just part of YouTube, not some third party something or other. It's debatable what the number is. Somebody in the audience said 50. There is a point in your subscriber pool before which you really aren't getting a fair shake. Well, you can't even reach people who might be interested in your video until your subscriber pool reaches a certain size. Once it does, then, as Sarah said yesterday, your particular speck of dust gets enough gravity to overcome static and start actually attracting other little specks of dust, and things can start to snowball. The question was asked, how do you get to that number? And the answer was friends and family. So that would explain potentially one of the reasons that that my YouTube channel is languishing in obscurity. Almost all of my friends and family just don't watch YouTube. But now at least I have a reason to ask them to, at least subscribe, even if you're not going to watch any of the videos, because it could make all the difference into whether I actually find it on. The balloon hovercraft looked good, but it was the Quantum Sandbox, and the thing with the Quantum Sandbox is if something looks good, it's always packed. There's always a line to get in, and there's never enough material. So as much as I wanted to try and build a balloon hovercraft, I figured that it was a better bet to go to the crowdfunding panel. The thing I learned about Kickstarter is that what you need to have a successful Kickstarter is to be the most organized person you know. The Kickstarter panel was the best organized panel I've ever seen. And it was because every single member of it was extremely well organized. They decided at the beginning that they were going to cover X number of topics, and they were going to give X number of minutes to each topic. They each spoke for a reasonable amount of time without needing any kind of timer cutoffs or anything about that. Then they asked for questions. They took a couple questions, moved on. So it was kind of intimidating to think that I would ever be that organized. And I worry about my personal ability to succeed at a Kickstarter, but at least now I have all the information I could ever want on what's important for a Kickstarter. If I'd had a time for a joke question, which, there was no time for joke questions in this panel, it would have been, how important is coloring your hair? Because 2.5 out of the 5 people had colored their hair. But then I also had a serious question, which was basically they say that doing a Kickstarter, a successful Kickstarter, is basically the same as taking on an extra job for a month. But then the question becomes, can you afford to pay yourself for doing that extra job and include that amount in your Kickstarter and still expect to get funded? Or do you basically have to do that job for free? And like, what's the going rate too? What's the going rate for working on your own Kickstarter? Can you pay yourself, $13 an hour? Or do you have to pay yourself, minimum wage? Or can you even afford that? Then I went to the pie competition, which was in the garden court, which is really weird because, like, if you think where are the most plants in the hotel, you would think actually the plaza. There's a plaza and an atrium level where a lot of the rooms where the panels are held. And I would have thought the plaza because there are lots of plants there. But no, apparently the garden court is near the pool. And there are some plants. You can find them. I got there early because I was going to edit, and I plugged my laptop in because my battery and charger do not talk to each other. So even though they both work, the charger will not charge the battery. So I'm sitting there editing, and I pick a place near an outlet with a view of most of the garden court. And then, an hour later, there's no pie. I get up to leave and turn around, and there's the pie. It was behind me. There was a little corner of the garden court. It's kind of L-shaped, and I missed the end of the L, and that's where all the pie was taking place. But that meant I got to eat pie while skipping the boring part, the judging part of it, and without really feeling particularly guilty about that because I missed it. And there were 3 pies that I got to try. I personally liked the banana cream pie best. It was nice and creamy without being overly fatty. Very tasty without being too sugary, and that's always nice in a pie. They had an apple pie, which was pretty good for an apple pie, and it was decorated very nicely. It had leaf-looking things made out of crust on top, with like it even looked like they had outlined the veins in the leaf in cinnamon, and that was really neat. But it was one of those apple pies that tastes just very slightly cheesy, and I know putting cheese in apple pies is a thing, but if you don't put enough of it in, then it's kind of hard to tell whether they meant the apple pie to be cheesy or whether something's just gone kind of wrong and it's a little funky and you don't really know why. But having said that, most of the bites didn't taste particularly cheesy. It's fine with me. And the third pie was a Dutch berry pie of some kind, I think with peaches in as well. I think it was peaches. And it was probably the least sugary pie I've ever tasted. It basically just tasted like fresh fruit with no extra sugar. And that was kind of refreshing. So those were the ones I tasted. There was also a chili cornbread pie, which I did not taste because I wasn't really in the mood for chili. I came there for dessert. And the other one I made too was a late night panel called Tales from the IT Trenches. I have to say I was expecting more tales. It ended up being only about a third actual stories, IT stories. And I did really appreciate one thing about it. There were very good stories. The stories that they did tell were very good. Because there are just too many stories out there that are just like, this person didn't know how to run a computer and I had them turn it on and off again, ha ha ha. And they kept away from those kind of stories. It was more like, here is a story about how the system failed everybody. And they never really had time to ask for any stories from the audience because they spent the other 2/3 of the time just complaining about the fact that there's nobody with people skills in IT help desk. And like, IT help desk is one very small part of IT, but that's the part they were all in, so that's the part they talked about. They also didn't tell it from my perspective at all, because it's easier to teach someone with people skills about technology than to teach somebody who knows about technology people skills. That's all true. But so if you're me, you just got out of college, you are brilliant at computers, but you don't have particularly good people skills, they still make you work help desk. And that's stupid. Stupid for me, because like, I would be far more useful in a position where I fiddle with the bits behind the scenes and make sure they keep working and don't actually have to deal with people. But instead they put me through a grinder, and by the time they actually figure out, oh, he's probably not so good with people, maybe we should have him working with software or hardware behind the scenes, I've forgotten half of what I knew, and I'm not as useful to them as I would be if they just put me there in the first place. I would have loved the chance to tell my favorite story about IT, so I'm going to tell it now. Back in the day, there was, and by this I mean when I was in high school, and we do IT for a small business. There is no help desk, there is no development, there is no software, there is no hardware, there's you, and you do it all. And maybe there's some other guy who helps you, and maybe you can divide things up between you in some kind of fashion, but mostly you both have to do it all. So I worked for a company that had, like, a small company, but it still had locations in like 4 or 5 different places. Small offices, so they only really had IT staff at their main office. Well, at the point that this came to me, they had tried remote desktop, they couldn't figure out what it was. but this guy's computer, and specifically his email, was running really slowly. So he packed up his computer and sent it to us at the headquarters. I turned it on, and the email's running slowly. We were using a program called CC Mail, and which was a very nice email program, but it had a few flaws. Whenever you viewed an email, it would open it up in a new separate window within the main window. So these were sub-windows. So what this person had done, apparently, was open each of their emails, read it, and never close it. And it remembered, when you closed the program and brought it up again, it remembered all of the emails that you had open, and it reopened them. And so, I plug it in, I turn it on, I run the email program, and 2 hours later, it finishes opening windows. Alt F4 closes the whole app, Control F4 closes a sub-window. So I took a stack of coins, and I sat it on the Control key, and I took another stack of coins, and I sat it on the F4 key. And 5 hours later, all of his emails were closed. Finally, the problem was solved. So I think that was all I really had to say about Con. If you like this video, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. If there's something you would like to see at Con, let me know, and maybe I'll try and film it.
Warning, warning, this video is almost over. Warning, warning, it's time to choose another one. This has gone on far too long, time to wake up and sing along. Warning, warning, this video is over now.